Hey everyone, here's my ultimate guide for Miu Jujo from Tribe 9. In this video, I'll show you everything you need to know for how to bring out her maximum potential, including her playstyle, best builds, and recommended teammates. So let's get into it. Miu Jujo is a 3-star attack specialist who does immense damage with her ultimate skill, Resonance Accelerator. And to get the most of her ultimate, she wants to maximize her personal gauge. If her gauge is maxed out before performing her ultimate, it will deal 20 hits of damage, all of which can crit. So her plan of attack is very straightforward. Max out your gauge and press the ult button. But how do we max the gauge out? Well, Miu fills her personal gauge when using her strategy skill, Vertical Crystal. This skill is essentially a turret Miu places on the ground, and it attacks enemies within its range. In addition to this, enemies that take damage around the crystal's perimeter will also generate stacks of your personal gauge, including hits from your teammates. So no matter what, the turret should be deployed near your current target. And while it's blasting away, help it out. And if Miu has no stacks or the turret is not deployed, her ult will do 1 hit of damage, which is not ideal. Anywhere from 2 stacks to 119 stacks, she will deal 5 hits of damage with her ult, and if the gauge is maxed out, Miu will do the intended 20 hits. So basically, if the bar's not filled, there's really no point in ulting. Real quick, let's break down her basic moves. Primary attack, a 3-hit combo where Miu will attack from range, getting closer and closer to her target, ending with a spin that has limited range. Surprisingly good DPS if you finish the combo, and all hits land. But trust me, you don't want to spam this move as it's outshined completely by her ultimate. Her secondary fire is a bit strange. Miu fires 9 light blasts from afar, which all count for independent hits. The damage is not spectacular, and this attack eats a lot of Miu's stamina. But as we'll see later in the video, Miu wants to use this skill often to proc certain tension cards. And thanks to its multi-hit nature, her secondary will stack Miu's gauge faster than spamming her primary. Her counterattack is fairly standard for melee counters, but it's surprisingly the best break damage in her kit, contributing more break damage than 2 secondary attacks, as long as the counter is successful. Obviously, if you can land a counter, you want to do so when you play as any character in Tribe 9, but it's particularly helpful when you're playing as Miu. And the most important part of Miu's kit is her strategy skill. Upon first activation, you will place the turret down anywhere on the battlefield if you hold down the strategy skill. Alternatively, if you tap it once, the turret's first spawn will be underneath your current target, which is very handy. But after the first placement, each turret redeployment will spawn underneath Miu instead, which is less desirable. If a target or targets enter the turret's range, the crystal will fire a blast that scales with your strategy skill damage. However, based on my testings, the turret's damage does not scale that well, so I would not recommend speccing into that. Instead, I'm all in on Miu's ultimate skill, which snares the target in a prison of light, and deals a number of hits based on her personal gauge, for only 1 bar of tension. Once the skill is used, your personal gauge will be drained and your turret will be dismissed. But these are hardly cons because the target will be frozen in place, you can quickly redeploy your turret and attack from afar with relative safety, and work towards another ult. And the last skill of note is her chain skill, which, once performed, will grant Miu 30 stacks of resonance. So you get 25% of your gauge for just doing a chain skill. It is for this reason that we want to use her counter, her secondary skill often, because we are contributing to more DPS in the long run by breaking the opponent. It might be a hard thing to wrap your head around, but yes, this is technically a game where your teammates are not useless. You all want to be contributing towards getting that break, so Miu can build her stacks rather quickly, instead of just spamming her primary because it's more DPS. Does that make sense? As she ranks up, Miu will gain more raw attack percent, which is never a bad thing in this game, and she can choose between 2 passives. Passive 1 increases the damage output of your turret, which, given how mobile bosses are in this game, I do not recommend putting points into unless you have no other choice. The far more desirable of the 2 is the second one, which enhances the action damage of her ultimate. Based on my testing, this is a separate modifier than the ultimate skill damage multiplier, and putting 4 points in this is the highest priority when building Miu. So let's go over how I approach bosses with Miu. Number 1 priority above anything else is maintaining 100% turret uptime. So at the start of the battle, I mash the strategy skill button and try to position the boss in such a way where to get to me, it has to be either inside or near the turret. When you are controlling a character in Tribe 9, that unit will generate more threat or aggro to the boss than normal. So unless you have teammates that use the attention ability, the boss will often be attacking you. But this is what we want. From there, I just stay close and try to get as many counters as possible to increase the chance of a break. And on certain encounters, bosses will stay stunned for a moment after a successful parry, allowing your turret to gain more gauge. She's honestly pretty straightforward once you understand her end goal is ulting as much as possible and how to get there. It's also worth mentioning Miu's incredible movement abilities, as spamming her dodge not only allows you to avoid incoming damage, but quickly reposition faster than any other character in the game. So often, I will spend stamina to quickly reposition and redeploy my turret, rather than spamming my secondary skill. As for builds, there's really only one way to go, and that is to make Miu a glass cannon, focusing on crit damage, attack, and crit substats in that order priority. For compatible monsters, a set bonus that grants raw attack or ult skill damage are good choices, but based on my testing, the raw attack set bonus is the better of the two, as the ult skill modifier is easier to obtain from tension cards. With that being said though, building a deck for Miu is currently a bit tricky in Tribe 9, as the tension cards that feature her character have a tendency to boost her primary and secondary attacks, which are not synergistic with her kit. Instead, Gio's 1-star card, Miserable, and his 3-star card, Endless Serving, are funny enough exactly what Miu wants to maximize her ult damage. If you don't have those cards though, don't worry, as both Koishi and Kazuki's Chibi cards can also boost her ult damage. Other than that, I run a standard set of Full Party, Strike Zone, and Maximalization to cap out my crit chance, so when I do ult, every hit will likely crit. And when selecting allies to bring with Miu, we want characters that make up for her lack of break and defensive options. Kazuki and Hyakutaro Senju will be great choices for this. They are tanks in the sense they soak up damage, but do not have ways to generate aggro, so the boss will only focus on Miu, which is ideal. And it's really hard to not recommend Suki and Yo. In just about every team I create, Suki is full stop one of the strongest supports currently in the game, as she generates tension gauge and crit on chain skill, and Yo is just a great breaker. The AI controls him wonderfully, and he can heal with his second passive unlocked. Real quick, let's check out a gameplay demonstration of me playing as Miu. This is the build, 200% crit damage up, and 30 crit rate, which is pretty nice. Taking on the Vice boss. Here are the cards: Leading Wisdom, Pulsating Life. By no means mandatory, just, you know, they're fun to use. And this is actually my first time testing it out. I hear a lot of people are struggling against this robot, Solitaire, here inside of Vice. Consider Miu a bit of a shortcut. But yeah, starting the battle off. Getting hit a little bit, but we're going for a speed kill, so that is okay. Just trying to get as many counters as I can get, redeploying the turret so it's in range. It's not currently in range, so there's no fires. It is firing at the clones, though, which is weird. It shouldn't be able to damage those. Maybe it can. I don't know. Taking a lot of damage here. As you'll quickly see, it does not effing matter. Playing a little risky, so we get more counters, and then we can break it. First break going out, you actually start this fight at tension level 1. Now we're tension level 2. Pulsating Life will proc, doing a little bit of damage, and here comes the ult. I can't help but laugh. Pretty much 100,000 damage in the blink of an eye. She's good. She's real good. Are the next bosses going to have triple the HP to compensate for her? Maybe. So should you pull her? Well, no, you shouldn't pull her. Even though she does insane damage, she is not a limited character, which means she's not going anywhere. That being said, if you do have Miu, I do recommend building her if you like her playstyle, as this is a character that is genuinely hard to power creep right now. But is she the best of the best from the standard pool? No. Pretty much everything that Miu does, Inoki Yukigaya does just a bit better, but with a lot less safety. Miu's ability to attack from range and reposition herself with her sprint versus Inoki's just raw, unparalleled DPS. There's pros and cons to both. Really, it just comes down to if you have the characters in which playstyle you like most. Now, in theory, for a longer fight, Inoki might lose out on raw DPS due to Miu's ult only requiring 1 tension bar, while Inoki's requires 2. But currently, there's no content in the game that has over 1 million HP, so really this is just speculation for now. So let's talk pros and cons. Pro: she's surprisingly good with the AI. Really. For whatever reason, if you wanted to play as a tank, I don't know why you do that. But yeah, she actually deploys the turret reasonably quickly and gets out of harm's way. I like it. It's not bad. It's not great, and obviously you're going to perform better, just based on your ability to critically think. But that's an option, and I can't say that for a lot of characters. Additionally, her evasion skill, I did not really emphasize it in this video, but trust me, just spamming that dodge when things get hairy during the first, Vice match of the week. Like, if it's a new boss, oh my gosh, yes, I would bring Miu every time over Inoki, even if I like Inoki's playstyle more and she technically does more damage. Miu is just incredibly safe, and for that reason, I foresee myself bringing her to Vice for quite some time. And yes, her ult damage, being able to basically almost one cycle bosses and skip mechanics, that is a huge selling point. And it's not like I spent crazy amounts of money to get her. My Miu is Transcendence 1, but as we'll quickly find out, that doesn't actually increase her damage total, at all. If you're struggling in Tribe 9, you're like, dude, I gotta beat the Vice, just start playing as her, make a deck that boosts her ult damage. Once you taste that bit of power, you'll probably not go back to your old main, I'm gonna keep it real. But as much as I love her, she's not perfect. No character in this game is, except maybe Yo. Her break damage, not good at all. It is silly that you have to use a low damage ability to generate break to do high damage. I definitely foresee in the future there will be a character that just does not have that con, which means Miu will be completely outclassed. Also, outside of her ult, her total kit damage is a bit low. I hate to keep comparing her to Inoki, but she does not have that problem. And that kind of feeds into my last point. There's currently just not a lot of tension cards in-game that enhance Miu's playstyle. You're realistically only using her ult, which means her primary, secondary, chain skill, all that. It's not really benefiting from tension cards. So in the long run, you're funneling all of your points and all of your damage into ult. What if you can't even ult for whatever reason? That is possible, which is a long-winded way of saying her character archetype doesn't have a lot of support right now in the current patch of Tribe 9. But obviously, as you see, it does not matter. You're still just going to do so much damage. She's not a jack of all trades, but based on what I've seen in game, you don't really need that. You want to operate a character that can just absolutely shred bosses with the right build. Try out Miu. And before we go, her Transcendences, they are very strange. I'll say that right off the beat. First Transcendence, when you deploy your turret, increase your secondary attack crit rate by 15% for 20 seconds. Why? That move already doesn't do that much damage. Sure, more crit rate is fine, but when you first deploy the turret, that's not the best. Her third Transcendence increases gauge generation when you hit a boss near the turret. This is like her best one. I don't know why you need 4 copies of the character to get it, but there it is. This is what she wants. It'd be amazing if you could get this effect from a tension card. I'd put everything I had into getting that tension card, but alas, it is her third Transcendence. And her fifth Transcendence boosts the turret damage, which, yeah, apparently does not generate more resonance stacks. So on paper sounds amazing. Oh, I'm shooting 3 times the bullets from the turret, but in practice, yeah, it doesn't really lead to much overall DPS increase. And that will conclude my ultimate Miu guide. Overall, a very straightforward character that you can't really go wrong with. But as always, any feedback is greatly appreciated, and tell me which character guide you want to see next, because I intend to do the entire cast because I love making these videos for you all. And if you want to see more Tribe 9 content, subscribe. Got tons on the way. Until next time, see you in the next video. Bye.